Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, PhD candidate, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. In honor of Women's International Day, Can We Talk has dedicated the entire month of March to talking about women, their many contributions to our society, and the issues that impact them. Today, we will devote our session to talk about women and gender based violence. My guest today is very familiar with this issue. She is the Director of Gender and Family Affairs in the Department of Social Services and Urban Development. And at this time, I will pass the virtual mic to her and have her introduce herself.
Blessings and peace. Thank you so very much, Ms. Moss, for this opportunity to share. You referenced International Women's Day that was celebrated on the 8th of March, and then you said the whole month, because, yeah, there are so many substantive issues. So thank you for this opportunity to be here. I am Jacinta Higgs. I am the Director of the Department of Gender and Family Affairs within the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development, and there is my twin department. So I'm Director of the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, and then you have Director Kim Sawyer, who's the Director of Social Services. So the Ministry of Social Services is the umbrella, but you have the Department of Social Service, the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, and so many other, about 16 different divisions and units that exist. And then don't forget another substantive stakeholder, partner, brother will be Director Kellen Russell at the Urban Development Centers. So yeah, I've been in the position about 2.5 years now. It has been a phenomenal spiritual experience for me because, you know, I've gone the highest I can go in education. I'm not interested in any more formal degrees. I've gone in terms of what I can do in terms of business and community development. I own a school. And that's been phenomenal just to watch every other graduates and what they do and where they go all over the world and how they succeed. And yet, though, when I came to this position, there was a lot of learning that I had to do. And so I thank God for a divine purpose that came out of this experience for such a time as this. I have 2 children that came through my portal, and then a daughter through my husband. And if you look, she and I are closer literally than my daughter because she's here with me in terms of the country. I'm the grandmother of 2, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old boy and girl. So I'm thankful to God. And then also my son, I have adopted him as my own because he is an orphan. So I'm married for 33 years. But was with my husband now for 37 years. And I'm so thankful to God for him because he guides me. I'm Catholic, but ecumenical and spiritual in my perspective. I have a very, very strong Afrocentric epistemology teaching, and that shapes almost everything I do. I don't necessarily depend on the doctor degree, but on experiential learning, emotional, spiritual intelligence, and my Afrocentric teachings. Yeah, and I Foxhill gal and philanthropist in the community of Foxhill. So that's about it for me.
Thank you. And what a strong introduction. So, Dr. Higgs, can we talk about women and gender based violence?
So, yes, let's talk about it.
Okay. So, let me just briefly overview the topic. So, before we begin our talk, permit me to discuss some basic statistics about women and gender-based violence. And according to the United Nations, gender-based violence refers to harmful acts directed at an individual based on their gender. Furthermore, the whole concept of gender-based violence is rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power, and harmful norms. The United Nations further estimate that 1 in 3 women will experience sexual or physical violence in their lifetime, and during times of crisis, the threat of gender-based violence significantly increases against women and girls. Therefore, this is a serious issue that impacts women and young girls. It is therefore our hope that we can bring awareness to this issue, because even if we are not affected, we may have a friend, a cousin, a sister, an aunt, or a mother who may be experiencing these issues. And so that leads me into my first point, or our first point for today. Dr. Higgs, can you tell us about the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, and what is this department specifically responsible for?
Okay, excellent start. The Department of Gender and Family Affairs began as a women's desk. So in 1975, women all around the world gathered. And remember now, the women's suffrage movement, the women's fight for gender equality, for protection, began late 1800s. And even before then, because I've even seen literally a booklet written for women as early, I think it's about 1850, with the rights that some of us still fight for up to today. So when they got together though, in 75, they said, you know what, we need to have because the violence, because the inequality is so disproportionately against women, meaning women suffer it so much more than men. So now, are they saying that men are not valued? No, they never said that. They're saying that based on the statistics at that time, it was evident that the violence that was perpetrated was abundantly more happening with women. The inequalities that were happening back then, as a matter of fact, in the 1970s, yeah, no woman was in the cabinet. As a matter of fact, not even in the House of Assembly. So you understand. So this strong patriarchal system coming seeped out of that slavery experience as well, because it wasn't always like that. And so then they said, you know what, all over the world, these problems occurred. So they said, let us form a desk in every country so that that desk could be manned by 1 or 2 persons who can monitor the affairs of women, cite them, research them, record them, report them, and then begin to resolve them. And so it was the women's desk. And then later on in the 80s, it turned into the Bureau of Women's Affairs. So they said, no, even the word desk was not demeaning, but the desk was minimalizing, meaning, it's, small, a desk. So they said, go to a Bureau of Women's Affairs and give it more gravitas, and they did that. And then in 2015, they realized that they've been talking about this problem for 20, 30 years, and nothing much substantive is happening. So then they said, let's do a department. Oh, because let me explain the difference too. The desk may have been getting monies to do its mandate, which is to report, to resolve, to research, monitor, talk about, encourage, public relation, gender mainstreaming. These are all of the mandates in terms of responsibilities, and it still carries to today. But the monies may have been coming from a substantive department, a ministry. Then the bureau, same thing. But a department is structurally supposed to be a statutory entity within a ministry that has its own budget. And so the big thing now in the United Nations and all over the world, they are saying, don't let nobody fool you. If they don't give you $1 to help enact your programs, they're fooling you, they're fluffing you, they're playing with you. And so hence the Department of Gender and Family Affairs was formed in 2015. So that's under former Minister of Social Services and Community Development, Honorable Melanie Griffin. She went to the conferences, she attended, she participated, she heard, like all of the previous ministers before her, who attended these international meetings, and she knew it was just and right to do so. And so hence, the Department of Gender and Family Affairs from 2015 to now just morphed to the point where we got a budget. And then I'm supposed to be able to, or any director sitting in that chair, is supposed to work with NGOs and provide grants, because we can't do it all. We can't do it all. We only have 10 persons, 11 persons in the entire department. One or two of them was just redeployed to go and work at the STG unit at the Office of the Prime Minister, meaning so Minister laughs and say they poaching in our waters, and they asked for two of our young staff that we were really working with trained, already took to New York. But such it is. What they're doing, they are going to get aspects of the reports that we still need. So it's quid pro quo. So now we have to, get some more persons in there. So what am I saying? The money spent predominantly was supposed to do operational expenses of our office, campaigns, public relations and media, and then grants for NGOs who can work on, let's talk about violence, let's talk about domestic violence, let's talk about abuse and incest and sexual offenses. Let's talk about why IDB has done a research, and the research is showing that out of Jamaica and the Caribbean and Barbados and Trinidad, gender-based violence is highest per capita in the Bahamas. Let's talk about that. So the department has as its mandate all those same things I said, didn't change, but now it is funded by its own budget to enable us to be a little bit more strategic in mitigating or reducing violence, helping with the stereotype reduction in terms of training children, teaching about the conventions and the treaties. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. Training NGOs, training people is critical. And I know we're going to come to that, but I just please don't let me finish I'd end the show without saying what is happening with regards to training. I think it's more preposterous and more egregious than gender-based violence, lack of training.
Yeah. And when I hear those statistics, I mean, that is eye-opening that you mentioned that the Bahamas has the highest rate of gender-based violence per capita. So what does that say about us? I know this question is a bit off from, but what does that say about us as a country?
So it says several things. Ms. Moss, and again, you said you're a teacher, and so I know definitely you would have had the awesome training of a substantive university or many or more than one, and you would come across this multifaceted attribution or reasons why things happen. I want to say that when we became independent, as a matter of fact, Kwame Nkrumah was the first Black president that got liberation from England in terms of a colony. It was 1957 in Ghana, first one out of all of Africa and all of the Caribbean, and everywhere where there were Black leaders, so that's Africa and the diaspora particularly, they used to meet. And they had a plan, a strategy coming back from Marcus Garvey as well. Marcus Garvey had an economic financial plan for us as a people, which was railroad, because even some of the documentary, you'll see where the FBI even got in there to break up what was happening. Because if you get a Black man smart and intelligent and financially copacetic and functioning, man, you got to be careful what you get on your hand. And so all of that was a part of that time to stop that. And so what happened was we were supposed to do a university like everybody else, but notice we still are struggling at UB. We're calling it a university, but we full well know that a certain amount of the teachers supposed to have doctorate degrees. You're talking about faculty training, you're talking about capacity. And so various schools within a university, and so much more in terms of the IRB, in terms of research, because that's what makes a university a university. the research that the students do and the dissertation that they're able to put on the shelves of that university to make it an august body with regards to its literature, its strength in its academia, the papers, research. And so I'm saying that to say to you, we never did the university. So now you have a part of that was the lack of training. And I now for the past 2.5 years, I've gone to almost every Caribbean country. I've worked with them, seen them. And one thing I can say, the street sweeper may very well have a doctorate degree. So there is a formalized training that went from kindergarten to university that we missed out somewhat on. And because we were able to leave school, literally, I saw my student by the dock selling fish. And at one point he was saying to me, but Doc Deeks, I'm making more money than you. And it was true. So if to go to school is to get a job, and to get a job is to make money so you can function for your family. And he was able to do that without going to school. And many of our Bahamians, because of the tourism industry and the small population compared to Jamaica with the millions and all of them, then what happened was, by coming out of school, by going to the food store after school to work, which for me, I have no problems with that. But I'm saying it to say, in our quest for economic stability and functionality for our families, some parts and aspects of the education was omitted and was lost. And so I want to say to you that the Constitution, I should have seen that from grades 1 straight to university. I should have seen it. There are aspects of it that, remember, I'm just a bill, I'm going on Capitol Hill. There was a little cartoon that came on Saturdays. I remember as a child. And so then where was ours? Where was our training of our citizenship, citizenry? Where was our training of our people? So to answer you again, to cut it down, we lack as a country many aspects of a curriculum that deals with decency, divinity, dignity, human rights, respect, values, and virtues. Not even knowing what personal space means. Not even knowing what noise pollution means, because we think we literally can play music, and we do it till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We have a big time party, and there may be an elderly next door can't even sleep, or someone with a mental health problem can't even sleep. But we just now, you call the police, and sometimes, thankfully now the police officers are trying their very best, but there are always 1 or 2 who might let it slip by. And again, so we breach human rights. We don't celebrate it as a country. It was just here in December 10th. It's not a part of the curriculum. We still celebrating Commonwealth Day, but not Human Rights Day, not ending gender-based violence day. We ain't doing that. We don't even do International Boys Day and International Girls Day. My department has pushed that. We don't even do International Men's Day. And so we have to understand that all of that is a part of the process to keep you within the status quo, which is much more always easier to control. So hence, violence and the highest percentage rate. We're now doing our own survey, by the way. We really thank God for IDB. So we'll be the 6th country in the Caribbean to do this nationwide National Women's Health Survey, which deals with that as well. But I'm saying that to say to you, many of those other countries, they have books. Ms. Moss, when I go to the meetings, and Ms. Moss, they just laugh at me, but I carry an empty suitcase just to bring these back. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Ms. Moss, all in my office, Ms. Moss, I bring back 2 and 3 copies, Ms. Moss.
Yes.
Ms. Moss, I don't care what they say. I literally, I tell you, I fold up everything in one little bag, in my big bag. We just tote books. I don't care how heavy it is.
Yes.
Their countries produce these. Oh, Ms. Moss, if I just show you them, they produce it. And Ms. Moss, I feel bad even as an educator with a curriculum specialty. Miss
Mhm.
Moss, I want to show you something because see
Yes.
when you see it, Miss
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Miss
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
only 10 pages, but we have not got to the point where we produce this yet. So we are
Yes.
doing this service because Miss Moss, even if your students come to my department, they can
Yeah.
get this, and in one quick look, they
Yeah.
have to wait all night. They will read it because it's short, it's cute, meaning it has colorful writings and
Yeah.
pictures. Miss Moss, man, I know you. Miss Moss, we don't even have videos. So I just did a few
Mm.
videos from my department. One day I sat down, the young boy came and he recorded me. Took 3 hours and I did 6. And I say, you know what? I come now, call him back and again I do 6 more
Yes.
because I'm a teacher. So I don't want to leave that position without the academic intergenerational transmission of knowledge being
Yes.
passed on.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
education, go stop that with violence. They go together.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. The lack thereof
Wow.
and the increase. Yes, ma'am. They go together. Because if Miss Moss, imagine us telling you a 5-year-old student about the rights. No, no, honey, you cannot go too close to her because she has something what is called personal space. And when you invade her personal space, you cause disequilibrium. Oh no, you can't do this. And you're teaching them, and don't mind the big words. I teach the students in my school big words, reciprocity, and they know it. And they can tell you exactly what it means. And then they move accordingly. We have 42 principles of Ma'at. These are ancient. These are thousands and thousands of years old. I honor virtue. I benefit with gratitude. I shall not terrorize, tease, or bully anyone. We change the words as they have been translated down over the centuries, and then we put them to simple things that students in K through 12 school setting know. And they memorize 42 of them, and they know them. They memorize them. And when they come before me for punishment, I will say, okay, which one did you breach? Which one do you think is greed? I teach them greed. When you cause somebody pain, they can't
Wow.
even see. You have to teach them. So Miss Moss, it's just a lot of stuff, even spiritually, Miss Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Separate the church. We say, okay, church, you teach the spiritual and the moral. Watch what we did, Miss Moss, and now I'll tell you what happened. So they separated the church, whereas it wasn't done like that before, because you had temple. That's why Jesus went to the temple. So in ancient African cultures, you had the temple, which was your school, it was your spiritual space, it was also your civic. And then informally, your parents, everybody had to go, because you don't dare not go to the temple back then. I'm not talking 2000 years, but Jesus, I'm talking way before that. That's our people's knowledge. We don't even know that. We've been breached from how we used to function. So therefore, we were born as, let's say, lion. I know this is a common cliche kind of thing, but let's say you really were born an eagle. But because once we grew up with the pigeon time and the pigeon indoctrination, I don't even know that I didn't know I could be an eagle. So we are operating out of our system of value. And that is why one thing I love with the Catholic Church and Afrocentric epistemology, there are about 6 or 7 prayers that says at the hour of my death. So I literally, and this is no joke, I'm not perfect. Oh God, I get some ways, Ms. Moore, but Ms. Moore, I live for my death because my soul will be judged at the hour of my death. So I sometimes will withhold gratification, withhold worrying about nails or worrying about a certain kind of hairstyle, and I will not take or steal, or I will be generous in giving and not worry about that. Oh, that's my nails money. No, I don't mind. I will yield the nails because one day, either my granddaughter or grandson will benefit from that paying forward. And or Miss Moss, when I die, I believe in it. There is something that happens that I want to be prepared for. This was told to the church to do. Then they say, okay, school, you handle the formal. Church, you handle the non-formal. And parents, daddies and mummies in the house, watch this now, you handle the informal. And this is my dissertation, by the way. Yeah, so it's 3 spheres or tiers of education. The informal is in the home of the parents, but the parents were very congruent with the church. and with the school was one big community of values again. Then you had the non-formal, again, which was done by the church, and sometimes, so what has happened now, civic organizations took that over. Man, I know you understand what I'm saying. And so the church was supposed to be teaching the spiritual and the civil and all of that. And then you had the formal, which is academia, kindergarten through university, doing the mind and the brain. The child, Miss Morse, in 1987 at my school where I taught, I'm not going to call a name, I kid you not, I asked, how many of you go to church? And if I got 5 hands out of 45 back then, our classes were very huge in that school where I taught. Miss Morris, if I got 5 hands, that was in 1987. So judge what happened since. And every year I do it as a teacher. So if the children ain't going to church, how will they know that when you spill blood, that is sacrilege? That is, when you spill blood, when you pump, and you shoot somebody, your spirit shouldn't even be settled anymore for you to sleep good. The time and sleep good, you have to drink rum straight through and take coke thereafter and take pills or keep on killing. But there is an anesthetizing, there is a blanket, almost a tabularizer of the values. And so therefore I could pump 6 in you, 10 right in you in the front of your children. And it's like nothing because a new creature has been formed.
And if I hear you correctly, I think what you're saying is there's a gap. There's a gap in what is being taught and our churches and what is being taught in our communities. There's a gap.
There's a gaping hole. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's a gap. There's a gap, not even in actual content. But Ms. Morse, you even have a gap in the processing and the intergenerational transmission of it because the children ain't going to church.
Yes.
Mom, Ms. Morse, I hope you understand what I'm saying, but this is all related. So therefore, you could rape an elderly woman, Ms. Morse, if we cursed an old person. When we were small, Ms. Morse, Jesus, Ms. Morse, woe be unto you. It's a curse.
Yeah.
Ms. Morse, you mean a man who go in the house and rape an old woman? A rape a 85-year-old woman? Ms. Morse, what kind of being is that? So that's what we got to be dealing with. And the point about it is good question in terms of good focus for the show, because Ms. Morse, you said it earlier in your intro. We are all affected. So no one is out. No one is exempt.
No one is exempt. We're all affected, or we know someone who's affected. So it is definitely important for us to have an awareness of this issue. And even today, even myself, I'm really shocked to find out that the statistics is showing that the Bahamas has the highest rate of gender-based violence per capita.
And so that's IDB. The study was done in 2013, which is really long and outdated. But the point is, and that's another thing again, we don't even today. I just have to smile because other than that, it will hurt my heart. So yes, so at that time, and so until such time as this new Women's Health Survey is produced, we have to go on that citation because that's what people are citing. That's what people are citing.
Absolutely. And Dr. Higgs, you touched on so much. Even you touched on some of the points that I already had, such as when we looked at our neighbors and what they're doing, our neighbors in the region, what are they doing to bring awareness to gender-based violence? And I know you would have shown the many booklets that you can go to. You can take them home with you, read on the statistics. Do we have that information? Do we have those resources? And I know that is something that you said that you want to work on in providing booklets and providing those type of information so that even our young persons, anyone attending any form of conference will have something to walk away with that they can go over and, learn for themselves or go over for themselves and see and bring some type of awareness to this issue. But I wanted to ask you, like I said, what our neighbors in the region, as you are aware, what are they doing in dealing with this issue? And also, do you believe that we in this country, do you believe that we are doing a good job of addressing the issue of gender-based violence?
So, number one, again, for the past 2.5 years, I have been meeting with we call ourselves the National Gender Machineries in the entire Caribbean region. And once per month, there is a meeting, sometimes 2-3 times a month. And when COVID occurred, even with Hurricane Dorian, literally they came to our aid. Because I'm telling you, at that point, what happened in Abaco and Grand Bahama, I wasn't prepared for it. You know, all my life as a teacher, you know, but once we go to school and our school building fix okay, then we try to see if we could pull back up school, except if the water. So that was my trained of experience with hurricane. No one was prepared for Hurricane Dorian. It was unprecedented. So definitely my counterparts in the Caribbean came over. I will never forget them. That's UNFPA, Allison Drayton, and she brought a whole team. As a matter of fact, depending on what they spot we needed, they brought them from all over the world. They even gave us grants. They gave us monies. They brought us over 1,000 dignity kits to give out. So the point is, in our Caribbean brothers and sisters, I love Mia Motley. Oh, for God's sake, because Mia on the Caribbean CARICOM stage and then on the world stage, she don't let up by telling them that they have to fund a lot of the ills and problems we are experiencing because we are former colonies. We contributed to them. As a matter of fact, I don't want to quote it now because it's been a little while, but I am sure they gave millions, I would say US dollars, but I know it's their money, pounds or something, but one of them gave it to University of the West Indies in terms of repatriation, reparations. So our Caribbean brothers and sisters, Miss Moss, and it pains me to say it, but it's the truth. They are experiencing full support from the United Nations entities by getting grants. And remember when I talk about education and us being deprived for years as not having the university open up so that our people could continue, it was always a cap on what we could have done. I could have gone straight through to do my bachelor's and my master's. But when I finished COB at that time, there weren't any bachelor's program. There was one through University of the West Indies, and sure enough, I went to do that one, or business. Then when I finished with that, there wasn't a master's degree program. Masters just started coming here. So Mrs. Elma Garraway took myself, who she watched grew up, and there was a cadre, you call a critical mass of educators who were brilliant, sharp, on the top, wanting to help the system. So she wrote to Minnesota and asked if they can please bring a adjunct master's degree program. And sure enough, I did that. Over 100 top educators in this country were a part of that program. And then Ms. Moss, when we finished that, there was no doctorate program. So Ms. Moss, with the help of my husband, I had to resign. They didn't even think it worth me getting a study leave with pay. Come on, man. So I had to resign. And then I went off to do the doctorate. I'm saying that to say to you, let me show you how it comes back together. Those in the Caribbean, for every one doctorate like me, let me be very generous because I don't have the stats, but I am telling you what I know in terms of interacting with them. You may have 50 persons with a doctorate degree just like mine. That's why I cannot sign on to the Caribbean single market economy. I cannot, because I know that the day we open that up, they will flood this way with their doctorate degree and be able to charge less for you with your master's. You can't compete with them. And they've had their degrees for years, and they're diligent, and they work hard, and they move with that. And I'm not gonna say that we don't, because I know I do. But I'm saying that to say, for every one of me, there are about 50 of them. That's unfair. That's not, we don't call that equity. That's inequality, and it is detrimental. So I'm saying that to say to you, but they have been way ahead of us. So all of us got independence around the same time, 60s and 70s. But when they got this, they went straight into the university, and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas was paying for UWI. We pay one of the highest. We pay at least in the millions, at least $1 million, and we pay in US dollars. And yet, we didn't even have a campus. And I know what I'm saying because my bachelor's degree came from the University of the West Indies, right there on COB campus. We used to have 2 little small rooms, and all of our papers had to go down to Jamaica, everything. Lecturers, some of them in between quasi. We didn't even have a room, but yet we were sending millions down there. To this day, we still send millions down there, to this day. But yet we didn't see it important to at least say 1 year, hold off, because that's what they do. That's what they do. Let us take that 1 million and put up a campus here. Look what we're still doing. We're still trying to pass a university in Thompson Boulevard. But anyhow, because then they have been long ahead of us, Miss Moss. And Miss Moss, man, you got to guide me because I'm passionate about it and it pains me, But
Yes,
just so
I
we can go
understand.
quickly. But what happened, Miss Moss, is they have done studies. They have now documented. They're now speaking as experts because they can quote 6 studies that they did in Jamaica to prove with the different kinds of sexual abuse. Then they were able to take that information. They wrote to the United Nations and they said, we want $2 million US or $10 million. And we'd like to now implement. Here is what we think needs to happen. We need to do curriculum development. I agree. We need to teach K through kindergarten about stereotypes and values and the dignity of humankind and the Human Rights Declaration from the United Nations. And they like that because that's their document. And so therefore, we are now ready. And we have now in our department, we have 20 people. And them 20 people ain't making much, but they show up and everything. They're happy because they get the job. They live meager. And so therefore, Ms. Moss, most of my Caribbean counterparts who are directors in the Caribbean, they are on one project or the next getting funding. And they gave me 20,000. And then they gave me 10,000. I still didn't even get the 10,000 because I don't even have an account to receive the money.
So we have some work to do. We have some work to do.
For God's sake, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We have work to do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so knowing it, I know that I was appointed there by God. I'm really, really thankful for that appointment. I'm not going to stay long because, and I need to find an analogy to describe to people why, Dr. Higgs, why in the world will you not renew your contract? And I just want to say this to you. The same reason why I established my own school and not go in government. There are certain entrenched barriers that have been placed there by the patriarchs, by the oligarchy, for the purpose of maintaining the status quo. We have not studied it, and we didn't know. Remember, we ain't studying much. We ain't studying long either. And we ain't studying in depth, just enough to get by. And we ain't going if it ain't a part of our credit. And so therefore, we are perpetuating the nexus, the vortex of a status quo where what is happening is well done for the system. And so I can't stay there because I want to come out now and go into civil society. So I've already now formed an NGO. I will now come out of there, go into that, even if I have to lose the salary. I cannot, my soul is required of me. Ms. Moss, I get 2 grandchildren. You should see the 2 little grandchildren. Ms. Moss, my whole life changed when I saw one was a preemie. I'm telling you, see, I know what motivates other people. Well, Ms. Moss, that motivates me. Remember, because I invest in children. I'm not making no big profit at that school in Fox Hill. I give out over $300,000 worth of scholarships a year. I'm saying all that to say to you, gender-based violence, let me link it, is tied to aspects of us not being trained on how to value each other. Not only that, Ms. Moss, we don't even teach what are the consequences if you breach someone. And you know why I know? Because I was in the Senate and they passed the Sexual Offenses Act. And there were about 20, I'll never forget, voyeurism, because I didn't know what voyeurism meant back then. One was voyeurism, and then you had sexual offense, and you had incest and all that. And Ms. Moss, inside the act that we passed, when we pass it, So they say, bam, pass. Okay, no, everybody who favor, sit down. Everybody who oppose, rise. Nobody rise. They pass, pass. Unanimous, bam, bam. So then I looked to a senior senator sitting next to me, and I'm saying, what's going to happen now? So he said, well, it's passed. And so, okay, now they will go to the governor general and ascend, whatever, all these big time words. I know, I was sitting up there, they know. But I knew as a teacher all my life, from since I was 15, I was teaching in the Roman Catholic Church. I knew that there were offenses and consequences written in that act that would affect a 16-year-old boy who, him and his girlfriend, she 14, but they have sex. And I knew he could have gone to jail for 3 years. So I said to him, you mean we're not going to do a campaign to take this to the school teachers? I think I was a teacher, so I felt offended. I was sitting in a space that's not meant for me in the Senate as a school teacher on the ground, having to do the work, having to see the parents, having to see the students, having to see a good 4-point student, Miss Moss, slip up because of his hormones. And I teach biology, and that's natural. That's why they used to get married when they were 12, because that's natural. But I would see him go to jail, Miss Moss, because of ignorance. And so we pass laws, but we have not taught it. So our school system is not tied to our judicial system. Our judicial system is not tied to the police system. And just today, Ms. Moss, the United Nations, just today, I sent it around to all the police. So that's what I'm there for. Every time I find something, I send it out to everybody. Literally, I sent it to the commissioner because he works with us now. He got it. Deputy Commissioner Davis Delancey got it, and they said they will post it. Ms. Sands, she's former police officer, she's in my department. We were sending it out, where the United Nations was giving out the handbook on how police officers should treat gender-based violence. They were giving it out to the judiciary. We sent it out to lawyers and attorneys. So we want training. Lack of training is worse. It's more diabolical and egregious than, this is Jacinta Higgs' opinion. I learned that from the senator. This is my opinion. Than being #1 per capita for gender offenses, sexual offenses.
And so, Harry, and I know you would have brought up training. So training is really important. It's really a big deal. And in hearing you speak, I think we have some work to do, and not just in having work to do, but passing on knowledge to the generation behind and the generation behind that one. And I think sometimes we get lost because we don't share, but we need to have an awareness of this issue. And so as we wrap up and as we close, is there anything else you would like to mention, or anything else you would like to talk about what your department is doing?
We trained 700 police officers about 3 weeks ago. That was monumental. Police Commissioner Paul Roll wrote in his police plan that he will work with us, the Bahamas Crisis Center, the Office of the Attorney General. We already met. We already had several meetings. They are prepared to support us in a gender-based violence bill that covers the same definition you read. We want to expand so people could understand that you can't Paul rock at somebody passing the road because it looked like a man, but he whining a little bit, and whining, I mean, because he's walking with a little spurt. And you say, well, he's a sissy, or he's this, and you think you could throw a rock at him. He has rights. We have been meeting with regards to women. You can't take a woman and bash her head in and choke her in the front of the children. And to the point where Miss Moss, I know what I'm saying, but I can't talk it. You could take a knife and you could choke up in a woman's body, Miss Moss, 9 times, 16 times, Miss Moss. And Miss Moss, you could get away with that. You could kill a woman through gender-based violence, get out and kill another one. The whole nation know about that. Miss Mawson, we could get away with that. Child, woe be unto us. That's why I need to come out to see where I can max everything I do. I want to maximize it a little bit more. So as I close, I want to say that for every action that we do, there is, they say the reaction. I remember the show used to come on, but there is a direct reward or consequence. There is a blessing or there is a consequence. And I want to tell people that gender-based violence is essence of experiences where we self-hate ourselves, we self-negate ourselves, or someone beat us when we were small. It is now intergenerationally manifesting. I administered corporal punishment till the point where it was abuse. And I'm admitting that, and I did ask public forgiveness from the children. I will continue to do so. Most of them would say, Dr. Higgs, man, Dr. Higgs, you saved me, man, because Dr. Higgs, if you was not hard teaching, you used to beat me, man, Dr. Higgs, blah, 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 blah. But I really want to say that in hindsight, after I was trained at the bachelor's level, then the master's level, and I was exposed to various methodologies and techniques and philosophies and ideologies of how you can still get the same kind of behavior, but with different tactics. Then it weighed on me heavily to the point where I don't subscribe that anymore, And sometimes even the rage that happens because, Miss Moss, we have been allowed to grow like a tree that was never pruned. And hence, the branches are sticking out all in the walkway. They have the prickles. It looks unkempt. You cannot even enjoy the fruits because the fruits are now mixed up in all the branches, the thick branches. We didn't prune. And so we need to prune as a country. We need to prepare. We need to educate. We need to develop a critical mass. And so finally, I give God thanks for all of the NGOs, our stakeholders that work with us. In terms of training civil society, we train police officers, we trained persons in education, we go to schools, we now have a male desk coordinator at the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. We go to the prison, not me, but one of my staff used to go, but we give a grant to someone who has that competency, and they're so proud to be partnering with us. They just met recently. So there are programs, projects, policies, and practices that we have put together to begin to move towards what we want. And to this point, we have amassed the largest number of NGOs functioning, active, with WhatsApp groups and connectivity and communication in order to begin to make roads and indentations into the problems, challenges, and concerns we experience. There is hope, though. I live because there is hope. And so I try not to despair. It gets painful every now and again. Like how you're asking me and probing me. It is painful, the reality of it. But I am telling you, Miss Moss, I pray to God within 5 months, Miss Moss, if you come back to me, Miss Moss, you're going to have one of these little booklets on about 24 topics that affect us. We have a gender curriculum specialist in our department.
Well, I look forward to that. Yes. And in hearing you, I'm hearing that there is hope. There's stuff in the pipeline. We have policies, we have practices, and we have things that we're preparing, programs to work on to improve our situation. And so I'm grateful that there's hope. And as we think about Women's International Day, it has already passed, but we're still in the month of March. And I'm so grateful that you would have taken the opportunity and given of your time to share knowledge and to give your insight in what you are familiar with and working within the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. And so I want to do my part as well to bring an awareness to this issue, because this is important. And as I mentioned before, although we may not be directly affected, we may know someone, we may have a family member, we may have a friend who may be dealing with this issue. So on that note, Dr. Higgs, if there's nothing else that you want to add, I would like to thank you for your time today. I would like to thank you for being a guest on Can We Talk? And I want to thank our viewers, our listening audience. You can put your comments in on the video. You can like our page. You can follow us on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Thank you and good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.